It's Friday, so that means another top 5 here at the Critical Gentleman. Today we're going to talk about the 5 best vintage watches you can buy for under 2,000 US dollars. We've done $500, $1,000, and we're going to keep it going by talking about the 5 best vintage watches you can still buy for under 2,000 US dollars. I really want to start doing these for modern watches too, and I know you guys probably want to see that, but I just can't help myself. I really love vintage watches, and before the bubble gets too big, I really want to talk about some of the great value pieces that are still out there. We'll kick off our list at number 5 with the IWC Yacht Club. Now, IWC is a brand that's much better known for their Flieger pilot watches and for their chronographs such as the Portuguese. However, in the 70s they released this cushion case design 3-hand time-only movement and called it the Yacht Club. Because it's one of their less popular releases and because IWC is a relatively polarizing brand, you can still find this watch under $2,000 on a few websites. Whether or not someone likes IWC watches is of course personal preference, but it cannot be denied that they produce a high quality product both in terms of exterior finishing and the quality of the movement. Even though this model tends to be overshadowed by their more popular selections, I still think it represents an opportunity to get into a high-end heritage brand for a relatively reasonable price. Number 4 on our list is the Enicar Sherpa. These are Enicar's exploration watches, which come with an inner rotating bezel. Some of these watches are geared more towards diving, and others more towards travel or exploration. But in general, these models can still be negotiated for a little bit under $2,000 if you know where to look. Number 3 on our list is the Omega Speedmaster Mark 4.5. Now this is the closest thing you can get to a moonwatch under $2,000. I know the first question that I'm going to get asked is, well, how come you didn't choose the Speedy Reduced? The only reason I did not put the Speedmaster Reduced on this list is because it was produced into the 90s and even into the 2000s if you count the Sapphire version. Because of this, it unfortunately just does not fit into the vintage watch category. Keep an eye out for it in the future though, as I do intend to release videos on high value, new and used modern watches. The Speedmaster Mark 4.5 uses the Omega 1040 series caliber, which is an automatic winding chronograph movement with a date function. The fact that you can get what is still technically a Speedmaster Professional for under $2,000, even if it is not the Moonwatch, still represents a great vintage value. Even though I tend not to like to include the same brand twice in a top 5 list, I just can't ignore the Omega 861 Seamaster, which brings us to number 2 on the list. You can still find an Omega DeVille from the late 60s, early 70s with an 861 movement for under $2,000. That's not to be confused with the 321 caliber DeVilles from the early 60s, which are going much closer to the $3,000 range now. Rounding out our list at number 1 is a watch that I think represents a fantastic value between the $1,000 and $2,000 mark, and that is the Rolex Oyster Perpetual 1002. This is a watch that represents everything that makes Rolex such a reputed and beloved brand, but does not demand the same price as many of their other pieces. The Oyster Perpetual comes in a 34mm size, but features the automatically wound chronometer-grade movement caliber either 1560 or 1570, depending on the year of production. Because the movement is chronometer certified, it's arguably an even higher grade than what they put in their Submariners of the same vintage. In comparison to the Air King, or the manual wind Rolexes that you can also get for under $2,000, I find that the Oyster Perpetual 1002 has a slight edge in terms of value per dollar. You can also find these with engine turn bezels, date complication, and of course the Oyster bracelet. Even though I insist on keeping the list down to 5 watches, I will include the honorable mentions for this week. I mentioned a second ago the Rolex Air King, which uses the same exact case as the Oyster Perpetual 1002, but the Air King 5500 uses the 1520 movement, which is a non-chronometer certified movement. Another honorable mention this week is the Omega Seamaster caliber 1040. Now this is not the 861 chronograph, nor is it the Speedmaster Mark V. It is the 1040 caliber Seamaster, which boasts the same features as the caliber 1040 Speedmaster, but in a different case and dial configuration. This would easily have made the list if I did not already have 2 Omegas already on it. Finally, making another appearance in this week's honorable mention is the Omega Constellation Pi Pan Dial. Now this watch is relegated to the honorable mention again because I already had 2 Omegas in the top 5 and because it appeared in last week's video for comparison to the cushion case Constellation. Now it's still a great value if you can pick up a steel or gold cap variety with the dogleg case, Pi Pan dial, and a correct movement. However, the difficulty of finding one in such condition, together with the fact that I already discussed it last week, means that this one only gets an honorable mention for today. As usual, I hope you enjoyed this video. Please don't forget to like or subscribe. And if you ever think that I left something out, please don't hesitate to let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching The Critical Gentleman.